Max Verstappen held onto his pole position for a brilliant win in Suzuka, and while the Dutchman proved that he shouldn't be written off with the championship battle, we need to look at McLaren's decisions during the race. Both of their drivers were left dissatisfied with the shot calling when it mattered the most, primarily because they had the fastest car in the grid and they weren't able to utilize it properly. Be that as it may, will these plagues continue throughout the rest of 2025, and can the team do something in order to fix them? There is no doubt that McLaren left a lot on the table in Suzuka, and a P2 and P3 finish was not exactly what they had in mind after showing strong pace throughout the entire weekend. Nevertheless, Suzuka is not an easy track to overtake on, and a lot of the job is done during the qualifying. But even with this in mind, Norris and Piastri had a lot of blunders from their own race strategists in terms of utilizing the strategy to the fullest. The problem started when Lando Norris was called into pit in the same lap with Max Verstappen, a decision that many have gone on to question. In Suzuka, we've seen that the MCL39 of Norris wasn't able to run in clean air for a long period of time and therefore extract the absolute maximum from its tires. Antonelli was one clear example that once the car is in the clean air, the tires will be able to live a lot longer than when you're following a driver as closely as Norris did. But nevertheless, the Brit was called in, and the small incident where he ran off the grass happened as well, further igniting a fire that Norris was just not able to tame. What McLaren should have done is bet on the overcut. This is a strategy in which you remain on the track for a longer period than the driver you're chasing, and when you come back, you can chase them with a much fresher rubber on your tires. This is something that Norris felt as well, and when summarizing his race in general, the leader of the championship has gone on to say, "Maybe we could have tried a bit more with strategy and overcut or undercut. We just boxed on the same lap for some reason, so there are some things to discuss. Hindsight is a wonderful thing. I probably should have just tried to undercut. The thing is, there's always the safety car risk. I don't think I could have gone longer because then I think I would have lost a position, so that wasn't on the cards. But yeah, I think we probably just should have tried to undercut and tried something different." It is true that Lando would have lost a position, perhaps one to Piastri as well, but given the nature of the events once he came out of the pits, maybe he would have gotten it easier to get past both his teammate and Verstappen as well. Nevertheless, the Woking Base squad have been stripped of victory because of their own decisions, and it's something that has been questioned by F1 experts such as Anthony Davidson, a former F1 driver and a current Sky F1 pundit. Elaborating on the choice of McLaren to pit Norris in the same lap as Verstappen, Davidson said, "You look at someone like Antonelli, who stayed out there long on the medium tyre and he did that late pit stop. He's now on the hards like everybody else and he's consistently lapping faster than all the cars in front of him. He's held onto the fastest lap of the race still and he's closing in on Russell, his teammate. They proved at Mercedes with Antonelli that going long and using your car in free air, it worked. I just don't understand why McLaren didn't do that with at least one of their cars. Perhaps maybe they'll have their reasons, but at least one of their cars should have used the potential of this amazing beast around this track. It's clear to me that the car is faster than the Red Bull on this track. It has been all week, especially in the long runs, so I just don't understand why at least one of them didn't have free air today. They've said dirty this entire race." That is a valid point to be made because it switches us to the next talking point of McLaren's strategy, not allowing Piastri to try and catch Verstappen. It has been understood from the entirety of the race that the McLaren driver was the faster one, and the driver swap is not uncommon in F1. I know what you're thinking. If he's faster, then he should try to overtake Norris and gain that position by himself. However, if they ought to do that in the old-fashioned way of racing, it's clear as the sky that a lot of tyre will be wasted and a lot of fight will be put up from Norris's side. This would mean two things. Piastri will lose the momentum when it comes to chasing Verstappen, and in this fight, the Dutchman will be able to pull even further because of the defensive mechanisms that Norris would have to use. But according to Andrea Stella, the overtaking challenge here in Suzuka was just too big to pull any rabbits out of the hat with their strategy choice. And when defending his team strategy, the McLaren principal said, "The race was mostly decided yesterday. There wasn't much action going on in the race and we ended up with the same result as qualifying. We got a lot of points with Norris and Piastri on the podium, so it was encouraging again for our car, but the others are not far behind, and sometimes ahead. We saw that staying out would not have been faster than pitting. We saw that from Russell, who was fast on the hard tires after pitting. It takes about 0.8 of a second to attack the car ahead. As soon as you get within 1 second, you have dirty air and performance drops. Today, I think it was not possible to overtake." Oscar Piastri was extremely happy with the pace he's had throughout the entire race, but it seems like it wasn't enough to provoke the papaya rule change and to do something in order to change the win away from Verstappen. It's like a repetition from 2024 in certain points, and McLaren does need to rewind their choices and see what is best for them moving forward in 2025, because Verstappen and Red Bull won't rest. Elaborating further on his own race and whether or not he was disappointed with the choices of the team, Piastri said, "Yes, correct. The result of the race was established through qualifying. The pace today was really good and I was very happy with that. Obviously, I got close a few times and tried to mount the challenge, but track position here is so important. So yeah, I think yesterday was the day where you effectively won the race and I didn't do a good enough job, so I'll take the podium. There are still a lot of positives to take out of this weekend. I think the pace was mega. Next time, I just have to make sure I'm in a better position to use it." But throughout the race, we've seen Piastri asking McLaren to commit to the swap because he's faster and therefore he should have the chance to push Verstappen to his limits. Piastri was then asked to elaborate on his feelings regarding this choice of his team, and he went on to say, "There wasn't much of a response, to be honest. For me, I felt like I had a really strong pace and felt like if I had the track position I could go and get Max, but that's what happens when you qualify behind, unfortunately. I at least asked the question and I think that was a fair response. So it was a good race and that's how we want to go racing." But it does create a lot of questions in our head. Is McLaren really ready to become world champions in the Drivers' Championship as well? There is no doubt that the team has the machinery and the right people all over this project, but what is doubtful is their commitment to hard decisions when they need to be made. We've seen during Verstappen's championship years that a lot of the battles have been won from the pit wall, thanks to the brilliant minds of Hannah Schmitz and Lambiase. But for McLaren, it seems like this department lacks a bit of education and a lot of courage to believe that your driver will be able to overcome the short-term deficit in order to gain the long-term success from your call. The fact that McLaren chose to wait and see what would happen on the track while putting Verstappen under pressure with a deficit of 1 to 2 seconds did absolutely nothing for them. It's just way too passive, and that is not how you ought to win a championship against a man who has 4 of them. Even in a car that is far from the fastest competitor on the grid, we are seeing how important the collaboration between a driver and a race engineer is. In this case, it's a lot more credit to Verstappen because he's extracting the absolute maximum out of that car, and there is no doubt that he will continue to do so even more when the upgrades of the RB21 come. With all this in mind, do you think that McLaren are bound to lose the battle in the Drivers' Championship because of these silly decisions? And if so, who would they have to blame other than themselves? Let us know in the comments below. And once you do that, make sure to click on the video that appears on your screen right now.